Hey friends, in this video I'm going to answer a range of questions about teaching in Dubai, Abu Dhabi and the other Emirates in the UAE too. I've been a teacher in the UAE for over 3 years now, so it makes it easier for me to be able to answer these questions too. I've also written 2 extremely comprehensive guides, and the information that I share within these videos can also be found in these guides and much more. This one is really supportive if you are looking to get a job out here. It's all about getting a job, information about what you need to expect, what the requirements are, where to find jobs, and other information about CV, applications, personal statements. All those different things are located within this guide. And I've also created this guide for when you get a job using this, that talks about what to do when you move here to the UAE. Both these guides are extremely comprehensive and can be found on my website, teachtraveltriumph.com. So let's get straight into the video, answering some of the questions that you might have about teaching in Dubai. If you have any further questions about teaching in Dubai, feel free to ask them over on Instagram, in my stories, or down in the comment section too. Question number 1, what is time off like? So when it comes to time off, there's a few things that we need to cover. First of all, the working week is from Sunday to Thursday, which means that the weekend is from Friday to Saturday. It takes a little bit of getting used to, especially when you compare it to places like Britain. We also have national holidays. The national holidays cover the Islamic calendar along with the UAE special days too. So we will have things like the Prophet's birthday. We will also have days off for Eid. Along with that, we will also have those UAE holidays such as National Day as well, which are always really exciting and great. Along with that, we have our school holidays. So when it comes to school holidays, we do have our half terms during term 1 and term 2. We do then have 3 weeks off for what we would call winter break. Doesn't necessarily mean it's Christmas break, although it falls then. And then we would have 2 weeks off. Although we would usually call it an Easter holiday, we call it a spring break. In term 3, we don't actually have a half term, although we do have that Eid break that breaks up that last term. It tends to fall around that time, but it changes each year. So that's how that term is broken up, although it's not necessarily a specific holiday of a week. So that is generally our time off. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2, how many staff meetings do you have? This completely depends on the school, but for myself, I would normally have a subject specialism meeting as head of humanities. I would also have a planning meeting during the week, and then I would also have a year group meeting. There are also times where we'll have a whole school and a junior school meeting too. So those can be quite busy in terms of meetings. Often, a lot of those meetings will happen during the daytime because my children will go to specialists such as Arabic and PE, which then frees up a slot of my time where I can go to certain meetings like the year group meeting or my subject specialism meeting. There are some meetings such as the whole school ones that will happen either in the morning before school starts or after school. But again, this completely depends on the school that you go to. Sometimes schools may just request that meetings happen after school, but for the most part, most schools out here are good at trying to sort out meetings during the working day. Is there funding for you to sort your classroom? Yes and no. There is funding. At the end of the year, your year group will get together and think about the resources that they need for the following year. So then when you come back after the summer, you will then have a box of different resources, whether it's display paper, glue sticks, stationery, all those different things. It's quite an exciting time of the year, but you don't generally have a big pot of budget that's like, here you go, Tom, this is yours to go and spend on your classroom. It's usually a year group budget, and then as a humanities subject leader, I also have a budget for humanities that I can spend. Another year groups will come to me and say, oh, can we have this for humanities? And the same happens with maths. So there's different budgets for different areas, similar to other schools, whether it's in the UAE or in the UK, but that's generally how my school works in terms of budgets for classrooms. How often are report cards? This is more frequent than what I was used to in the UK. We have 2 reports. We have what we would call an interim report. This generally goes out during the first term and lets them know about how they've settled in. And then we obviously have our end of term reports too. So that's 2 reports, and compared to the UK, we only had 1. But that could be because I teach in a private school, and because parents pay for that education, the communication is more frequent to align with the understandable fees that they pay. This brings me on to the next question of how often is parent meetings? So this is a great question, and it is fairly similar to what I was used to in the UK. We have 2 formal parent meetings. However, communication is increased in terms of frequency through emails, and then parents also have that open door policy, at least after COVID, where they can come in and discuss child's progress and look at books and things like that. Does your class get to go on field trips? Yes, and let me say this, they are amazing. We have been on some amazing school trips. I've been to places like Dubai Frame and Old Dubai with my class, and it's really exciting for the class. At the moment, Expo 2020 is going on, so many different classes in different schools have the opportunity to go and visit there and learn about Expo 2020 and everything that's offered there. Along with that, I've heard of many different field trips too, such as going up the Burj Khalifa. We've had field trips going to what we would call Kidzania, which is this huge play type area, which is really exciting. We've also had types of trips where people have gone internationally to places like Borneo. That was a really cool one that I've heard about at my secondary school, which is located at the school I'm at. So really cool, exciting trips that people have the opportunity to go on. Residentials is also something that still continues here too, where people can go and have amazing opportunities at those places too. Next question, does your school give you a laptop? Yes, they do. My school gave me a laptop, which was extremely exciting. My school gave me a MacBook Air for me to be able to do all my planning and things like that, reports and all those bits and pieces. Along with that, my school lets me lend an iPad that we can use for exciting opportunities, photos and all those sorts of different things. Then that brings me on to the next question of what sort of things do the students have access to. So my students, because it's a Google school, my students have Chromebooks. So we use things like Google Classrooms, Google Slides and all those different bits and pieces. Along with that, we really do have a plethora of technology at my school. It's really exciting because we have things like tele drones, we have recording equipment for podcasts and things like that. Basically, we're really well equipped when it comes to technology, but different schools work differently. Other schools will have their students with iPads because they'll be, I don't know, Apple schools. Other schools might have laptops. There's all sorts of different things at different schools, but that's how my school operates. And generally at private schools here in Dubai, they really do have a great opportunity when it comes to technology too. Are there professional development opportunities? Yes, there are. Pre-COVID, there were lots of opportunities to go and visit different schools to develop professionally. This is really good because it can support you with your professional development. Other schools are really good at frequently sending you onto different courses too, although other schools perhaps might not be so good at sending you onto those courses. You do then have those training days after school, where you can learn from other professionals either in your school or they might bring people in. So that's always really exciting too. And that brings me on to the next one. Do you get to learn from other people? This again completely depends on your school, whether you get to do learning walks. I know as a humanities subject leader, I get to do learning walks, which is always really good for me professionally to see how other people teach and see if I can take some other things from them. But yeah, this completely depends on your school and whether they have a mentoring program. I know that there's some schools in Abu Dhabi, because I went to the talk guests recently, they'll have a triangulation process where you'll get to triangulate and see other teachers teach and then feedback. So there's all sorts of different systems at different schools, so it just completely depends. Perhaps this is a good question for you to ask when it comes to interview. I've previously made a video about all sorts of different interview tips and things that you can ask at interview that you can check out up there too. The next couple of questions are about salary. I've made a video all about salary and what I get paid and what to expect when it comes to pay, and I'll link that up there. Feel free to check that out. That is also integrated into this guide too, so also make sure you check that one out. So when it comes to pay, how frequently are you paid? We are paid each month for the most part, and it is frequent. So that means for my school, I will get paid at the end of the month. At the same time, there are also times where that will differ. For example, June time, many schools will combine the June and July pay together, which then means that you receive that as a lump sum. Some schools do this, some schools don't, but it's just something to be aware of because then you need that to stretch over the duration of the summer holidays, which can be a challenge unless you're good with budgeting. Is your pay the exact same every month? Well, yes and no, similar to what I said before. If you get paid during that June and July period, it's going to be a lump sum. It's also worth noting that you might have a flight allowance, again noted within the guide, where that is then paid. For example, for myself, it's usually around March, April time, where I'll then get that in addition to my monthly salary as well, which then helps me book flights to go home and all those different things as well. Do schools offer extracurricular activities? Yes, they do. Some schools will call that enrichment. My school calls it ECAs, extracurricular activities, and there's a wide range available. We will have lots of access to technology, so you might have things like podcast club, technology club. We've got the normal things like basketball, football, but then you'll also have things like board game, dance, and then my school will also have things like swimming as well, which is really exciting too. We also have musical theatre and all these different things, so there's a wide range of opportunity for children to take part in those extracurricular activities. At the same time then, that brings me on to the next question: what are expectations in terms of ECAs? Again, this depends on the school, but for myself, It's usually we need to do 2 per year, but then that's changed in previous years. It's been you need to make sure you're doing 1 a term. Sometimes it's been you need to do 4 in a year. It completely depends on staffing and all those different things too, but it's something to make note of when you come over, to make sure that you really do think about what skills you have to offer to other schools so that you can provide a wide range of ECAs too, because that can be a real good draw. Again, that's mentioned within the guide of things that you can share to widen your opportunity of getting a job out here. Is there an expectation for you to plan as a team, or do you just do it all yourself? Well, we plan as a team, which is really useful, but there is also that expectation that you adapt it and tailor it for your class too. The wider your school, the bigger your school, there are some massive schools out here. We're talking like 10 to 12 classes in some schools. The more you're likely to need to tailor that to your specific class, because classes really can vary and teachers' planning standards can vary too. At the same time, we will then have, like I said before, those meetings to be able to plan effectively, and then we will then communicate those different plans to each teacher so that they're able to then take those, tailor them, and teach them effectively too. What is the admin like at the school? So by this, the individual means the senior leadership and beyond. So each school will differ depending on the size of the school. I can talk about my school. We have a principal, and then because it's quite a big school, it's primary and secondary, it splits down. So then secondary have a head teacher and 2 deputy heads, and then primary have the same head teacher and 2 deputy heads. From there, then you have heads of years and heads of department who act as the middle leadership too. Along with that, you have additional staff bodies. So you will have the cleaning teams. They are amazing. They're there all the time to support you with little spills and things like that. Security is something that was different and something that took me by surprise initially. They're amazing and really friendly, but at the same time keep the school safe, which is brilliant. We do then have additional staff who help with running the school and moving things about. And then we will also have additional teaching assistants who aren't necessarily classroom based. So we have someone who is in the auditorium setting technology up. We have a graphics team so that they can help with printing and all those sorts of things, and they take care of all the stationery. So that's an exciting area. Along with that, we also have additional people in human resources, because we have so many staff at our school. We need a HR department. And then from there, we also have a financial team as well. Because it's a private school, parents will pay their school fees, and we need a financial team to be able to do things with the money, and then also make sure that we get paid on time at the same time. There will also be marketing teams, because they will want to bring people into the school to show them around and hopefully for them to enroll too. So each school, depending on the size of it, will be quite unique, quite different, but generally we'll follow a similar structure too. Last question, what is the dress code like for females and males? This is why I've kind of chosen to wear this. I would be completely fine wearing this in the UK, and it would be something that I would be quite comfortable in. However, at my school, it is more of a formal dress code, so I'm expected to wear at least a shirt and tie, suit if it's more of a formal occasion, such as parents' evening. For females then, it depends on the school again, but you're expected to wear more formal attire. There is an expectation in terms of coverings of skin. Some schools can be quite specific with this, expecting full arm length and full leg length wear. Other schools will just expect you to cover your shoulders if you're female, and male too, obviously shirt and tie and things like that. When you teach PE, many international schools will have their own PE attire that you can wear, and that's great for the inter-house days and additional exciting days too. So hopefully this has given you plenty of information about teaching in Dubai, Abu Dhabi and the wider schools in the Emirates. If you find this video useful, please make sure you hit the like button. That really helps out the channel, and subscribe for more videos about teaching and life in Dubai too. I've also made other videos about teaching in Dubai, so feel free to check them out. And if you haven't already had a chance to go on to teachtraveltriumph.com, you can go and check out these guides, which are going to be extremely useful for you if you're going through the process of trying to get a job out here in Dubai too. Hopefully I will see you in the next one, guys. Until then, I'm out.